What is the fascinating reason why many of the ancient Sith despised the rule of two, and why is it that they attempted to kill Palpatine on Korriban, coming together as a group of Sith spirits to end the rule of two entirely? Greetings Acolytes, and welcome back to the Archives. The Sith Order was victorious in the end, though it took 1,000 years of careful planning and evolution, which was perfectly executed by Lord Bane's rule of two. With only a single master and apprentice, the Sith managed to culminate all of their power into Darth Sidious, who then turned the Chosen One and demolished the Jedi Order. Yet, Sidious's ancient Sith predecessors were not impressed with his accomplishments, nor were they amused with the idea of the Rule of Two, nor any Sith that partook in it. It's not like anyone from the Rule of Two were trying to please the Sith in any way. The only place the ancients had in the Rule of Two was any knowledge gleaned from holocrons and tomes from the ancient passages of the Masters. To our knowledge, the only ones to even bother seeking out the ancient spirits were Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious, with the rest of the Rule of Two lineage disregarding them entirely. But neither Plagueis's nor Sidious's experience with the ancient Sith and visits went well at all, and in today's video we are going to examine why the ancient Sith spirits of Korriban hate the Rule of Two, even though it is actually what saved their order. But before we delve into the dusty, trap-laden tombs of Korriban, we have noticed that a few of the scholars using our archives have not yet subscribed. Unlike the Sith, we believe that knowledge should be shared freely, so be sure to reach out and crush that subscribe button. It is your destiny. To start, we'll review the 2 times the Rule of Sith actually interacted with the real spirits of Korriban. Unfortunately, these accounts have very little information since they are told to us by Plagueis and Sidious in retrospect. Another important thing to note is that Sidious and Plagueis are the only members of the Rule of Two that have reached out to the spirits of the ancient Sith, or at least the 2 that we have evidence of, and are the only 2 that have been documented. Their forebearers likely never bothered to visit Korriban since it was always under the constant watch of the Jedi. As an aside, we're going to say this just to get it out of the way. Darth Bane does not count as having actually spoken to the ancient Sith, since Bane only conversed with their holocron guardians, not the actual Sith spirits themselves. While the holocron guardians are programmed with the personality and intellect of the Sith that they represent, they are ultimately just that, a programmed hologram, not the actual spirit. Although it has been said that some spirits can actually possess holocrons that they imbue themselves upon, and some possess the spirit of their creator. But as far as it is implied in the Darth Bane trilogy, none of the holocrons Bane possessed carried the spirits of their master. The account we get from Darth Plagueis is a fascinating one, but incredibly strange. Plagueis is noted to have been something of a skeptic when it came to the mysticism of the Sith. This is ironic considering he was a part of the Sith, one of the most mystical focused force organizations in the entire history of the galaxy. But we know Plagueis was something of an oddball. He was a scientist like his master Tenebris, and as such, he didn't confirm anything to be true unless he could observe it, test it, and repeat it for himself. He had once decided to visit Korriban to see if the stories of the ancient Sith Masters were true, and if they still resided there in some capacity. Somewhere deep within the old tombs, Plagueis records his experience in the Book of the Sith after being somewhat perplexed by this idea. The tomb of Hakagram Grosh remained silent to my queries, and the throne where Sorza's Sin once sat contained no mocking, imperious specter. I was ready to conclude that the tales were merely diversions for the credulous. But as I boarded my ship in the Valley of the Dark Lords, I beheld a vision of the Sith Lord Marka Ragnos. The apparition challenged my claim to the Sith title and railed against my plan to dismantle the traditions of ancient Korriban. But the version of Ragnos would not answer any of my questions, nor my Dela-needed inquiries. He snarled and disappeared in a whirl of smoke. It is possible that the entire episode simply played out in my mind. Darth Plagueis speaks to having a direct encounter with the legendary Marka Ragnos, one who took such offense at Plagueis' intentions that he couldn't continue to ignore Plagueis as the other spirits had. Clearly, the ancients hated Darth Plagueis so much that they essentially considered him a heretic unworthy of even beholding their presence. The Dark Lords who once ushered in the Golden Age of the Sith went to confront him and challenge his claims as a real Sith Lord. While we are never told what questions Plagueis asked him, Ragnos was apparently too displeased to answer any of them and chose to vanish, leading Plagueis to believe that this was all a hallucination. Strangely though, none of the spirits actually attacked Plagueis, and make no mistake, it is an extreme rarity that anyone encounters a Sith spirit and leaves unscathed, even if it is another Sith that has contacted them. The spirits are dangerous and unpredictable. The fact that Plagueis escaped with his very life is a miracle, and the fact that they chose not to attack him whatsoever is also a miracle. But with Plagueis' experience, the same cannot be said for Sidious's interaction. In the Book of the Sith, Palpatine comments under his master's story and writes, "The spirits of Korriban are quite real. Indeed, on one occasion, they nearly killed me, but I agree with my master in this observation. The dead Dark Lords are evasive in their speech, and are ultimately treacherous." Sidious's interaction with the Ancients is far more active than that of his master. Palpatine did not have to look around for the spirits. They all appeared before him directly. From what we know of the story, the Emperor went to Korriban sometime long after Order 66, bringing along one of his most loyal servants, a hand by the name of Jang Droga. Sidious demanded the dark side knowledge from the mummified corpses of the Sith Lords, feeling that they held secrets that even he had not unlocked. Apparently, this enraged the spirits. They believed that Sidious was in no way worthy of demanding knowledge from the great Ancients. Because of this, they appeared and mercilessly assaulted Sidious, even wounding him near fatally. The Emperor would have actually died had not been for the rescue by Jang Dorga, who saved the Emperor and then took him to recover in a Bacta tank. Unfortunately, this is literally all the information we have about this encounter, and it comes from the magazine Star Wars Gamer number 5. The article, though, is mostly about the Emperor's mysterious servant, and one of the many times that he proved he was fiercely loyal to Sidious. Unfortunately, we're not even told what spirits specifically interacted with Sidious. But with all of that said, the question stands: what were the ancient Sith's problem with the rule of 2 successors? I believe there are several. To begin, I wanted to bring up a point from a holocron we produced several years ago, where we talked about how the ancient Sith hated Palpatine because of his obsession with the Jedi. The Ancients believed that the Sith Order had allowed the longtime rivals of the Jedi to become such a massive problem that the entire Rule of 2 was created to destroy them. The ancient Sith saw the Jedi as being beneath them, so much so that they didn't focus on the Jedi unless they were in the Sith's way. The fact that Sidious spent so many years studying the Jedi and planning things around them made the Ancients feel as though Sidious was giving too much focus on the light side counter. Now, obviously, it is because of this obsession that Palpatine succeeded in his mission, but that didn't stop the ancient Sith from feeling like he spent far too much time and resources on the lesser Jedi. And while we know the Ancients had direct problems with Palpatine, we do know this is applied to the rest of the Rule of 2 lineage. Darth Bane went into hiding because of the Sith's inability to properly handle the Jedi. The Ancients likely saw this as a defeat. The Ancients ruled with power, their loud voices stemming from across the stars. They wore golden clothing and commanded giant armies. They built massive statues and massive temples to their honor, all screaming to the power of the ancient Sith. And the Rule of 2 hid in the shadows like rats. They took on the names and the jobs of normal people. They squandered what it meant to be a great Sith of old. They made themselves look weak, inept, lesser. They mingled with the galaxy as if they were their equals. They were a disgrace to stories such as Tulak Horde, a Sith who was said to taste Jedi blood by the thousands, repelling a siege single-handedly. The ancient Sith believed themselves to be far more powerful than the more modern masters, both Jedi and Sith alike. Darth Kreia even stated that the powers of the Ancients far eclipsed the power of any Sith from their era. They were individuals playing with toys, while the ancient Sith were warriors. More than this, they were kings, and more than this, they were gods. The Rule of 2 went into hiding for 1,000 years. This was insulting, preposterous, and not worthy of the name Sith. When they say modern Sith are unworthy of the title of Dark Lord, they are not just being boomers about the way that Plagueis wanted to run his empire. Marka Ragnos was a warlord and a hero that established the golden age of the Empire. He conquered 200 planets and brought in riches never seen before. We have to remember that to them, Dark Lord is synonymous with the word king. The spirits either aren't aware of, or do not care about the evolution that the Sith Order had to go through in the thousands of years since their passing. They're still laboring under the idea that the Sith are a mighty empire and a people group that harness the ways of the dark side of the Force for their own glory and power. They see the rule of two as individuals that have abandoned their glorious kingdom. But what's critical to remember is that the Sith Order has moved on from that old age and has become more of a religion than anything else. The rule of two changed. They were not pursuing ultimate power for their own gain, at least not for their own gain entirely. Instead, they were exercising virtues of self-sacrifice for a grand plan. To the ancient Sith, the idea that one should not only allow, but encourage one's apprentice to murder them was heresy. All in all, the Sith spirits are selfish, even after death. They are prone to jealousy, and anyone who comes seeking their knowledge will have to go through several tests before receiving it, and likely, the Sith will still deny them. The Sith Lords will hold back if they think the student will grow more powerful than even they were. The Ancients are kings absorbed by their own accomplishments. They care nothing for furthering the Sith cause of the future. They only guide and teach it if it serves their own purposes or the glory of the dead Sith Empire. The Sith spirits are not like the Jedi Force ghosts in the slightest. The voices of the deceased Jedi Masters are an act of love and compassion. They transcend death because they have taken on a duty of servitude for the good of the galaxy that they have moved on from. When Jedi appear as ghosts to those who seek them out and those in need, they come as a guiding hand to teach and encourage. The Sith spirits do not linger around for the purpose of others. They will only guide and teach if it serves their own goal. Most commonly, this occurs with possession. That is the goal of the ancient Sith. Resurrection. If you are a Dark Lord seeking out ancient knowledge, you will literally have to pry it from their cold, dead hands. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on the clashing ideologies between the rule of two and the ancient Sith? What are your thoughts on this lack of respect and even outright hatred for the various generations of Sith? And in the end, I pose to you a very difficult question. Which version of the two orders is superior? Thank you as always so much for visiting the channel, my friends, and may the Force be with you.